Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 8 waiver wire video to help you guys out with your fantasy team. There were some injuries that happened this weekend, but not as many that had occurred the week before, so that is a good thing, right? This week, there are no teams currently on a bye. So again, a lot of these players may not be needed, but I wanted to mention them because there are some good matchups for some of them, or again, are just starting to trend in the right direction. If you guys haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button as well, and we'll jump right into this. Now, we're going to start at the quarterback position. I want to talk about Derek Carr versus the Colts. He's available in 65% of most leagues. Carr has another 300-yard game. That's 2 weeks in a row right now. Now, remember, when I'm talking Derek Carr, we're not talking Derek Carr, the Saint, who unfortunately has not had a great record so far in the real NFL, but we're talking fantasy football. And Carr has actually done a pretty good job the last few weeks. Now, he's got 3 solid matchups coming up in the next 3 weeks as well, so he could have very similar 17 to 19 point range because of the matchups he's got going on. And he's got a good amount of weapons. So again, don't be afraid of the name because of what's happening in the NFL. Make sure you're looking at the fantasy, and I like him a lot for the next few weeks. That's really the only quarterback I want to mention. You could always talk about others, but he's really the only one that's worth some waiver wire grab. Now, running back, you've got Foreman versus the Chargers. He's available in 36% of most leagues. Now, the week before, when filling in as the RB1, he only put up about 7 points. He had 65 yards on the ground and I think a catch or so. Now he's coming off an amazing game with 33 points, scoring 3 times. I just went against him in one of my big leagues that I've always been in, now going on to 10 years. And of course, Foreman decides to show up and have 3 touchdowns. So it's a little disappointing. Now, if you're a Foreman owner, that was great, but he's still available in 36% of most leagues. So you may want to consider grabbing him. Now, Roschon Johnson most likely will be back from his 2-week hiatus because of his concussion. So that does play a factor, but I don't think that actually changes anything for Foreman at this particular time. I think the only thing that might change for Foreman is when Khalil Herbert comes back, and then that's going to be a whole nother mess with the Chicago Bears backfield. But at this moment, I like Foreman. You should definitely consider grabbing him. Another running back you absolutely should grab is Kareem Hunt going against the Seahawks. He's available in 36% of most leagues, so he's probably gone in most of them. Hunt has had 15 points or more in the last 2 games. Now becomes the clear RB1 with Jerome Ford out at least a week or 2 because of his high ankle sprain. At least it's a low grade 1. So any of you Ford owners, hopefully you're able to grab Kareem Hunt to fill in because Ford actually looked really good this past weekend. And Kareem Hunt scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So again, this is a really good matchup. He's getting a lot of the goal line work. We're still knowing what's going on with Deshaun Watson. He's expected to play this weekend. Obviously, he missed time last weekend when he did play. But Kareem Hunt's really somebody you should be grabbing. He's probably the number 1 waiver I think you should be considering. Another running back is Darrell Henderson Jr. versus the Cowboys. He's available in 76% of most leagues. The whole running back carousel for the Rams finally was decided and landed on Henderson. And he played really well. He had a pretty good outing for someone who no one had thought was going to play, right? Like if you played him, you had hoped you put him in the flex and you got something, and you did. He rewarded you with that. Now, he was placed back on the practice squad because of the whole transaction thing and everything the NFL's got. So he is back on the practice squad. He is expected to be put back into the starting lineup. We'll see how that plays out because right now, really, running backs are Royce Freeman and Zach Evans. They're not going to have just those 2. So I do expect Henderson back. I do have a little bit of nervousness with the matchup, but again, Henderson is definitely worth grabbing if you're desperate and needing a running back. Now, wide receivers, I got a few here I want to talk about. I've got Josh Downs versus the Saints. He's available in 64% of most leagues. Now, I've talked about Downs before, but I didn't like his matchup this past weekend, and man, did he prove me wrong. He had an excellent game, even against a tough Browns defense. He's now averaged 17 points a game in the last 3 games. He has absolutely flourished with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Nothing against Anthony Richardson, but Minshew's definitely changed the avenue and really the aspect for Josh Downs, and he's looked really good. Now, I talked about Josh Downs earlier on when we talked about Dynasty, and he's doing things a lot faster than I had anticipated. He looks really good. I like him a lot. He's available in most leagues. You should consider grabbing him. Another matchup, a little bit better, unlike the Saints matchup that Josh Downs has, is Josh Palmer. He's going against the Bears. He's available in 41% of most leagues since Palmer has stepped in as the wide receiver 2 after Mike Will had went down due to his injury. Palmer's averaging about 13 points a game, 7 targets a game, right? Like he's getting some looks his way, and this is a high pass offense for the Chargers. And he will continue to look really good. He's definitely going to be a flex play every single week and possible wide receiver 2 boom capability based off of matchup. So I really like Josh Palmer. Again, he should be somebody you consider grabbing for sure. Another running back I like, or excuse me, wide receiver I like is Rashee Rice. I've talked about him before. He's going against the Broncos this week. He's available in 42% of most leagues. Rice has scored a touchdown in out of the last 3 games. He's continued to become Mahomes' favorite wide receiver outside of Travis Kelce. Even the McCole Hardman actually looked really good. Even Valdez-Scantling actually looked pretty good. So there was definitely some opportunities this past weekend that the receivers stepped up. But I trust Rashee Rice a little bit more. He's a big wide receiver. He looks really good. He's great near the goal line, and that's where they continue to utilize him. So again, as far as if you're going to put a receiver on your offense, on your fantasy that is a Chiefs receiver, it's Rice, and that's who I'm trusting. Another receiver I like this week, and again, possible injury fill, is Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He's going against the Browns this week. Again, tough matchup, but Josh Downs proved it can be done. And Njigba is available in 41% of most leagues. This is going to be really obviously based off the injury. If DK Metcalf is expected to miss another game due to the hip injury that just happened, Njigba is definitely in a good place to be the wide receiver 2 for the Seahawks, and again, having the opportunity to perform really well. He had 16 points this past weekend when he did perform as the wide receiver 2. And again, he has the talent, right? Like, we're talking about a first-round pick that had the talent to be a really good wide receiver in this NFL. He just has been behind the scenes, right? Metcalf and Lockett have been in the lineup, and realistically, the Seahawks offense doesn't look the same like it did last year with Geno Smith. So, with that said, I still like Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I like his opportunities. I don't love his matchup, but if Metcalf is out, anybody who's a Metcalf owner should absolutely go grab him, right? Another receiver I like is Kendrick Bourne versus the Dolphins. He's available in 74% of most leagues, and I understand why. Bourne had a great game week 1, 24 points, and then disappeared. Last 2 games, he has shown flashes of the big playability, what a lot of people had hoped when he showed up on week 1. Last 2 games, he's averaged 17 points a game and seeing 18 targets in those 2 games. Until something else changes, at this point, you've got to put him in your team. And again, great matchup going against the Dolphins. We'll talk about the start and sits later this week, but good matchup. He's looking really good so far. He's getting a lot of targets, and unless something changes, Bourne is definitely a flex play possible wide receiver 2. Last receiver I'm going to mention as somebody you should consider grabbing is Romeo Doubs versus the Vikings. He's available in 35% of most leagues. Doubs is definitely a bit too touchdown dependent for my liking, but he has played really well, and ever since Watson's been out, and that's where he's shined. Now, he had another good game this past weekend, and there's a chance Watson could miss. There's a knee situation that's going on. Nothing's been really said about it. So until further notice, if Watson is out, Doubs becomes the wide receiver 1 for the Packers and has done well in those particular roles, getting 18 points here, 19 points there, 17 points. So he's that type of capability, really good wide receiver 2 and flex play. So again, Doubs, if Watson is out for any length of time, Doubs is definitely somebody you should consider grabbing. Now, the tight end position, I've got 2 guys here. I've got Taysom Hill going against the Colts. He's available in 91% of most leagues, so I get it. He's absolutely the riskiest play at tight end. But in the last 2 games, Hill has put up 12 points, then 16 points. He's being used as the gadget play like every single time he's ever played. But he's definitely used a lot more in the goal line. That's where his boom capability, right? Like if you're definitely desperate at tight end and you're looking for somebody who could possibly put up some really good points, knowing the risk could be 0, Taysom Hill is definitely somebody you may want to consider grabbing. Now, the other tight end I do recommend is Dalton Kincaid going against the Bucs. He's available in 58% of most leagues. With the injury news to Knox dealing with his, I think, 2 to 3 week time table, if not more, missing. Now Kincaid is the clear-cut tight end 1 in this offense that had seen some pretty good amount of targets. Like this past weekend, he saw 8 targets, which is a season high. So with Knox out, Kincaid really becomes the clear guy in that third option, right behind Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. So Kincaid could see that 7 to 8 target type of consistency while he's in the clear, right? Clear-cut tight end 1. So again, Kincaid matchup at this point doesn't matter because I didn't like him this last weekend, but he proved me wrong. At this point, because of the injury, he's definitely somebody you should grab and put into your lineup. So those are my waivers for week 8. If you guys do have questions of who you should be considering grabbing, or maybe some trade questions, right? There's a lot of buy lows like Bijan or Austin Eckler's underperforming really badly. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know. That's what we're here for. Want to try to help you guys out with your fantasy lineups and waivers. If you guys haven't already, man, make sure you guys are subscribed. Hit that like button as well. Make sure your notifications are on as well because we'll be dropping waivers, start and sit videos as all season long to help you guys out. We're almost there. As crazy as it sounds, the playoffs will be here before you know it. So make sure you guys pay attention to all these videos. Any help that we are here, that's what we want to give you guys. Again, make sure you guys subscribe, like, and I'll check you guys out next time.